The importance of good data. How seemingly insignificant amounts of data can produce monumental results and insights. By Behavioral Data Solutions. Sometimes when we talk to small business owners, they seem to have some reluctance in engaging with us to solve their problems. They think with small business comes small data sets, and you can't get anything significant from small data sets. They also believe that a scientific approach like behavioral analysis is for big business. Listen, we get it. If you were trying to do this yourself, you'd probably be right. But that is exactly the reason to engage with us, so our data scientists can help you get the information you need from the data you do have. Let me put it to you a different way. Here's the thing about small data sets. If you collect enough of the right information, even small data sets can be remarkably helpful. At Behavioral Data Solutions, we use what we call our deep dive analysis of the problem you're trying to solve or the question you need to get answered. We take a great deal of pride in being extremely thorough and getting you what you need. Okay, so let's put this in the form of a scenario, just so I can make it clear. Let's say we're working with a large manufacturing firm with manufacturing plants in different cities across the nation. We have been tasked with surveying the individual plant managers of this firm to measure their opinion of whether a certain manufacturing process would work in the plants. Let's also say that our response rate is very poor, and we collected the opinion of only 2 plant managers. One said it would work, one said it would not. Some would say that was a waste of time and effort because we didn't find any answers. They might say the data set was too small and that 50% said it would work and 50% said it wouldn't work, telling us nothing. If our data collection tool only captured the fact that these 2 respondents were plant managers and their opinion, yes, the process would work or no, the process would not work, then they might be correct in saying that, because that would be a waste of time and resources. But there's more to it than that. In order to get the best response to the question, you have to collect as much information as possible about who is providing the information and the circumstances under which they are providing it. Again, if we collect enough of the right information, we might be closer to an answer than you might think, even with only 2 respondents. Let me show you. So the first plant manager, we're going to call him or her PM1, responded that the proposed process would not work in the plants, while the second plant manager, we're going to call him or her PM2, said it would in fact work. On its face, it seems like the information we need to get to is what the 2 plant managers based their decision on. So, what if our data collection tool not only collected the fact that they were plant managers and their opinion, but also their experience as plant managers? What if we also collected whether or not either plant manager had any experience and the depth and success of that experience with implementing a same or similar process in the past? What if we also collected from each plant manager that if it was learned the process could not be implemented, what process would they recommend using instead? We could also collect the names of any person or persons they would recommend as being the most knowledgeable in the area, so that we could get their opinion as well. To take it a little further, we could also collect if they believed it would work, but only if something was changed or discontinued. If so, what would that be? Lastly, the most obvious item we could collect so that we could get our answer would be to have them explain in great detail why they believed it would work or not work. Now let's say Through the collection of all this data, we find out that not only does PM2, the plant manager who said the process would work, have 3 times the experience as PM1, but PM2 has actually had experience with successfully implementing the same or similar process earlier in his career. We also learn from PM1 that even though he or she did not believe the process would work, there is an alternative process that would work, and they were able to share the name of someone with whom PM1 worked with in the past, who was an expert in implementing this type of system and may be willing to consult on the project. Lastly, both plant managers went into great detail explaining why or why not the process would or would not work. As you can see, now suddenly we might actually have enough information to make an informed decision on whether or not to implement the process. And if we can't, we potentially have another viable option to consider and the name of an expert on the subject we can talk to. And we've only talked to 2 plant managers to get all of this. This is not only an example of how powerful even the smallest of data sets can be if you just collect the right data, it also demonstrates our deep dive analysis process we use to get the answer for you, the client. Now, obviously this is just a scenario to make a point. Our desire would never to be collect data from 2 sources and come up with a definitive outcome. But the scenario does a very good job in pointing out just how we pride ourselves in digging deeply to collect as much information as we can for the information you need to make a decision, even if we get a low response rate. Listen, if you have any questions about what we've talked about here, or about behavioral analysis in general, or if you want to talk about how we can help you get the answers you need for your organization, go to behavioraldatasolutions.com and schedule a free consultation. Let's get you some answers.